Okay, so now that you've gone through the vocabulary, we're going to talk about graphing linear functions. And again, we're going to go through this fairly quickly because a lot of this is a review from Algebra 1 and Geometry. So this is mostly just to brush up on your ability to graph linear functions and write them. So this parent function, this concept of the parent function is going to be coming up throughout the year with us because we're going to talk about different functions than just linear functions. But with linear functions, the parent function is just y equals x. The simplest linear function we can write, okay? Y equals x. Every other linear function is a transformation of that parent function. So when we talk about functions, they're all transformations of a single parent function. So at the bottom, in general, a blank of a graph is the y-coordinate of a point where the graph intersects the x-axis. We call that, and I'm not going to be able to fit it there, so I'm going to say that is the y-intercept. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It's where y intersects the, where your graph intersects the y-axis. So that is the y-intercept of a graph. So we're going to review slope-intercept form. If you remember y equals mx plus b, this gives you the steps. Your first step, get the equation in y equals mx plus b form by solving for y. So if it's not y equals already, force it to be y equals by solving for y. Your next step, find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the constant in that function. The slope is the rate of change. You use that to count from your y-intercept to graph a second point, and once you have 2 points, you can graph a line, not a lean. Sorry about that. A line. Didn't spell check that one, I guess. So, in example 1 here, graphing an equation in slope-intercept form. Like I said, find the y-intercept, find the slope, and then you use those to help graph 2 points for your line. So the y-intercept is the constant. In this case, that is just 1 in this graph. The slope is -3/2. So the way I graph this line, I plot my y-intercept at 1, and then I count my slope of -3/2. So it has a rise of -3, so I go down 1, 2, 3, and I go right 1, 2. So that is my rise over my run for my slope, right? And we'll see how straight of a line I can really draw here. I bet there's a function for me to draw a straight line, but I haven't found it yet. So let's try it. Terrible. A little bit better, but you get the idea. Drawing a line through those 2 points. The least amount of points you need to draw a line is 2. So once we've got those 2 points, we can graph our line. Next, standard form. Now standard form is basically, and I'm going to show you this right here, ax plus by equals c. So a number times x plus or minus a number times y equals c. So getting that equation in standard form is the first step if you want to graph in standard form. You find your x and y intercepts. The way you find your x-intercept is you substitute 0 for y, and then you solve for x. And then you plot that at the x-intercept, where it crosses the x-axis. To find the y-intercept, you do the exact opposite. You substitute 0 for x to find the y-intercept, and you solve for y. And then you plot your y-intercept. Then you have 2 points. Then you can graph a line. So in this first one, I'm going to find the x-intercept, and I'm going to do that by substituting 0 for y. So this becomes 2x equals 12, x equals 6. So there's my x-intercept. I'm going to count the x-intercept of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is on the x-axis. The y-intercept, I'm going to substitute 0 for x to get my y-intercept. 3y equals 12. my y-intercept is 4. So I count out my y-intercept 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I have my 2 points, and I'm going to do my best to draw a straight line again. That's marginally better, but you get the idea of you got 2 points, you can draw a line. I probably could use a ruler, I guess, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So when you're doing this, if you want a ruler, I'll provide you with one. So if you want to draw nice, neat lines better than mine, I'll give you a ruler. All right, past that. The other 2 types of lines we're going to see are horizontal and vertical lines. So horizontal lines are of the form y equals c, a constant. Okay? Vertical lines, x equals c. C is a constant. So you think of y's as being, up and down, x's as being left and right. But with these graphs, it's basically, if it's y equals a constant, I'm giving you the y-intercept. So you can plot the y-intercept, and you realize that this is a horizontal line at -1, a value of -1 for y, and that's a messed up line, but imagine that's a line going horizontally. So for x equals 2, that gives me an x-intercept of 2, and that indicates a vertical line for my graph. Okay, so vertical line for x equals, horizontal line for y equals. Moving ahead, I have 6 guided practice problems for you. So this is just graphing. So again, good idea to pause the video, try these. No pressure if you're wrong, correct them. This gets you more comfortable solving problems on your own, okay? So I've got a couple slope intercepts, a couple standard forms, and then a couple horizontal vertical lines. Okay, so graphing these lines. Here are my solutions for 1 and 2. I'm still writing down. Y-intercept for number 1 is 2, slope is -2. So I plot my y-intercept at 2, and I count down 2, right 1. I get 2 points. I can draw a line through 2 points. Number 2. Y-intercept at -4, so I count down 4 for my y-intercept, and then a slope of 4/3, so I count up 4, right 3. Get my 2 points, draw a line through them. Next, I did a little bit of skipping sort of with my work here, but the concept is still the same. To get the x-intercept for this number 3, I plugged in 0 for y. I know that 2 times y is 0, so I did that part in my head. And then I said 4x equals 8. That means x equals 2. X-intercept of +2. So that's my x-intercept. As far as the y-intercept, I plug it in 0 for x. I got 2y is 8. That means y is 4. So I got a y-intercept of 4. Number 4, same thing. Plugged in 0 for y to get my x-intercept. That was -1, 2, 3. And then my y-intercept, plugged in 0 for x. I got my y-intercept was 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that was my y-intercept. 2 points, connect the dots. I've got my line. And at the bottom is just you remembering y equals is a horizontal line, x equals is a vertical line. So these constant equations here, they give you the x or y intercept, and you just got to know it runs perpendicular to that axis. So that means this one right here, number 5, was a horizontal line because y was 4. 6 was x equals -2, so that was vertical at -2. So moving forward, you guys should be ready for the practice. And then once you're finished with the practice and you've done a little bit of review, I'd like you to try the checkpoint. The checkpoints are done a little bit differently, so I want you guys to make sure that you are following the steps after the checkpoint to make sure if you're ready for the next unit, or if I think you need a little bit of, maybe a little bit of enrichment, I might give you that. If I think you need to relearn it and retake the checkpoint, I might have you do that. So the checkpoints are important for checking your understanding at the end of a lesson. So move on to the next step in the lesson, and we can talk about further steps from there.